Hello, I'm Ben Schrock, and joining me today, I got a special guest. Brian Winters is on the show, so we're going to take this out to probably two parts, and the first part we're going to focus on getting to know Brian a little bit better, have him talk a little bit about his saving habits and what he's done his whole career, and then part two is going to dive in a little bit deeper on more about his entrepreneurial side and tap in there. So, Brian, first of all, welcome to the show. Glad to get you on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, before we get into it, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? What kind of, take it from there.
Yeah, I grew up in Hudson. I graduated Hudson in 2009. I continued my football career at Kent State, and I was there to 2013. And then from there, I got drafted by the Jets.
Nice.
In the third round, and was with the Jets for 8 years, and then Buffalo for a year, and then Arizona this past year.
Yeah.
So it's been a ride. It's been fun.
That's why I told you look skinny. So
I know I'm in between. I'm in the off season weight. I'm about 275, but hopefully this doesn't air to anyone else.
Yeah,
So
we don't have quite the following, so I can take advantage of that. So, was it always a goal of yours to play in the NFL? Was it everyone tries to strive for that right. Top level, obviously, but at what point in your life did it become realistic? Was it kind of high school? Was it college? Where was that? Did it click for you?
So it's kind of crazy. Between my sophomore and junior year, like after wrestling season, I gained 70 pounds and grew 4 inches. And, after that year, I literally looked at my dad. I'm like, wow, I'm kind of big now. Maybe I could do this football thing. So then after my junior year of football, I got my first couple offers. My first offer was actually from Syracuse University. And then from there, it just kind of came into like, I think this could be my career. And then I went to Kent State. I just wanted to stay close to home, and I like the home cooked meals, and
sure.
I wanted my parents still do my laundry and all that stuff.
So and be close to the games too.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was nice for them. They could all come to the games and everything. But it doesn't matter where you are. It's just how you play, and they'll
sure.
find you wherever they are, or wherever you are. So Kent State worked out great for me. And after my junior year of college, it kind of came in to the way of, scouts were coming in and asking about me and all that, and I was getting honors from the MAC, and, it kind of came into like a surreal picture, like, this could be something I do. So I put all my chips into that basket. I wasn't going out. I was just, training and doing my homework and kind of just staying on that task to just put all my eggs in one basket to see how it works, and, obviously it worked out, but it's kind of tough because, when you're in college, you want to enjoy all those things. But I kind of put that aside and put all my things and my thinking into this.
Well, it makes sense, too, because I don't think people realize, the scale of the NFL, and there's only so many people at your position, right? There's only 32 starting guards in the NFL. So to go from Division I college with 300-plus schools down to the NFL is a pretty amazing accomplishment. So the risk is there, but like in your 20-year-old self, you probably weren't thinking about that, right?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I was just thinking, I was just living in the fast lane at that point.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the NFL. You started how many games? You told me at one time.
Yeah, 110 games I started, yeah. So I got thrown in there my rookie year, and from there it just kept going.
Yeah. Did you like New York?
I liked New York. At first it was tough. It was an adjustment, coming from Ohio.
Sure.
And then moving there. When I got drafted by the Jets, I actually thought I was going to be living in a 1-bedroom apartment in New York. I had no idea. Everything was in New Jersey. Our practice facility and the stadium's actually in New Jersey.
Okay.
So that's a little fun fact. But yeah, it turned out to be real feeling of home. It was a tough adjustment at first, like I said, coming from Kent and going there, but I was surrounded by a good group of guys and made it feel like home.
Awesome. And you met your wife there too, right?
I did. I met her actually at an event in New York. So kind of funny. She is from Willoughby, and she also went to Kent, but we had no idea of each other.
Crazy.
And then we went to the Big Apple and we met each other, which is kind of wild.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And then you came back home, right?
And then we came back home. Yeah. I don't know why I keep coming back to Ohio. What'd I do?
Yeah. I don't blame you. It's a good spot. Good hunting too, and fishing, right?
That's it.
So you guys got one little one and one on the way, right?
Yep.
And as we're recording it, it's February 4th, and Jenny's due soon?
February 15th.
Holy smokes.
I know it.
So
yeah, she's getting to that point. It might be sooner, so we'll see.
Awesome. So So now we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about, what made you, I guess, aware of becoming a saver in football and while you're working, essentially. So what was it out there that made you a great saver? I mean, we talked a little bit, behind the scenes. For a little bit of background, Brian and I used to live down the street from each other, even though he never plowed my driveway. He just lived down the road, and then he ditched us. But what made you a great saver from day one?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. So when I first came to the NFL, obviously getting these big chunks of money in these portions, and then you realize, the taxes, and you take that out, and then you realize how little amount that it really is. I mean, it's still a good amount, but it's cut in half dang near, right? So in the NFL, it stands for not for long.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it,
Sure.
right? And when I talk to my financial side and stuff, they always tell me you're cooking in a microwave. Everyone else is in a slow cooker.
Sure.
But you're cooking in a microwave. You're going to get all your money.
Yep.
And you're going to be done in 10 years if you're lucky, right? So if you can make it to 10 years. So I took that real serious, and we put a plan together, and we put a savings plan together because, you always want to work real hard at what you're doing so you don't have to do anything after, right? And that, I wanted to play really, really good and work really hard and, be able to have opportunities after football. So knowing that, I was very clear cut and dry with what I wanted to do and how I wanted to save. So that really helped me put in the perspective of everything. So
was there anyone that on the team that because you always wonder, right? You hear the stories, the 30 for 30s where athletes spend all the money or they go broke, heaven forbid. Was there a mentor that took you under their wing that said, hey, listen, this is what you got to do? And you're like, all right, I respect you, I'm going to do it. Or was it just a little bit of the financial advisor, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, I knew the value of a dollar coming in.
Sure.
So it was easier for me, but there are these guys out there that don't understand, and they don't really get the financial support from wherever they grew up or the people. There's all these people out there, oh, give me your money, I can make you $1 million in 2 weeks, or whatever. It's just, you hear so many horror stories in the NFL, but I've had good mentors. Nick Mangold really helped me. He's actually an Ohio guy, went to Ohio State, but he kind of taught me the basics and, save now so you can live later type thing. So that's the saying I kind of went by. Yeah.
And obviously it paid off for you. It's one of those things. And you mentioned the whole tax issue. So, I mean, I think I always go back to my, college self before I got into this business. And I always thought if I can graduate and make like a $50,000, $60,000, that's $5,000 a month.
Right.
And that's all my income, right? I'm going to make $5,000 a month. And little do you know, you got to pay for health insurance, taxes, and all this stuff comes out. Yeah, absolutely. So were you in that same boat? Like when you got signed, you're like, oh man, I'm going to make this much money, I'm good. Or was it like a harsh reality when the first check came?
Yeah. So funny story. When I was my rookie year, I got my signing bonus after I got drafted. So you signed, and then it was like 3 or 4, maybe a week into rookie mini camp, right? You get your first check of your signing bonus because I was drafted in the 3rd round. And I opened it up and I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, where's the rest of this? I'm missing half of this. Yeah. So I called my dad, I called my mom, I said, something's not right here. They're like,
someone stole my money.
Yeah, someone stole my money. They're like, son, welcome to taxes, Yeah. So I looked at it and I was like, holy crap. So from there on, I realized whatever that money is, whatever that number is, cut that in half or maybe even more.
And I think that's a good outlook too. And I try to preach that to our retirees, our clients, to say, if you got $1 million in a 401k or an IRA, cut that in half or take a third out and just park that to the side and say, okay, you don't really have $1 million, you got 700,000 now, because you can only spend what the net dollar that comes in your pocket at the end of the day. So the other thing I found was wild with you guys is that you said every stadium you go to, you got to pay taxes in that state.
You're a W-2 for each of those. It's wild. So, taxes before I got to the NFL were pretty easy for me. Just get on TurboTax and do whatever my job was there in college. But once I got to the NFL, I'm literally we'd have probably 9 away games. I'm filing in every state. So I'm filing in the state we play in and then the state where, our home state. So, but for me, I was getting it in New Jersey and New York and wherever we played.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so you really cut it up. You know what I mean?
So what was your favorite state to play in then?
Miami. Yeah. The
That's
Dolphins.
why everyone goes there,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. I'm happy they were in our division for so long.
I bet you wish you could play 2 away games there in the conference. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is that something that you like when you look at someone that goes out and makes good money and they go buy a big house or all these cars and what have you, oftentimes I feel like they forget about the property taxes too, right? I'm going to go build this gigantic house, spend a couple $1 million, and then I'm going to have to pay continually $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year in property taxes. Is that something that you saw like with teammates or in
all
with
the time
colleagues?
Yeah, and you get guys that were on rookie deals, right? So the rookie salary for 4 years is $500,000, right? It's a lot of money, right?
Sure.
You cut that in half, and then that's over 5 years or 4 years, right? And then they go buy a big house or whatever, and they just don't understand where their money's going. Well, it's not like you're made of $500,000. Mm-hmm. It's $250,000 over 4 years.
Yeah.
Even half of that. So I've seen a lot of horror stories, like I said.
Sure.
And I'm just happy that I was kind of brought up with knowing, like I said, the value of a dollar and realizing, how your money goes.
When you took someone's advice to heart too, I love the saying that you're cooking in a microwave. I think that's genius because that's so true. And are the paychecks like that's the other thing too? Are they spread out through the course of the year?
Yeah. So when I first came to the NFL for the first 8 years was 17 pay periods, right? And it's funny that you bring that up because now teams are moving to 34 to 36 pay periods,
Makes
right?
Sense.
So these players are getting checks in the offseason too, right?
Yep.
Because if they're getting paid for 17 weeks, right, and they don't get a check for that period of time to the next year, they kind of spend it all.
Sure.
Or they don't put it away or don't use it the right way. So I think the NFL is doing it now to break it up so that players can have checks coming in like a normal job so that they have some security.
Yeah, it makes sense too, and is that something too that the NFL, and not to put them on blast, not that they'll probably listen, but do you feel like there's enough awareness out there that like you always hear the rookies all gather at a I don't know, meeting or something,
symposium,
yeah, thank you, and are people paying attention? Is it something that can be improved on? Because you're always looking at it and saying, okay, I did it, right? Being you,
right? You
made it, you did it, you saved, you got to the other end. How can we model Brian Winters and say replicate this times everyone in the NFL, right?
Yeah, so they actually do the rookie symposium. I don't know if they still do it, but it was in Aurora.
Yeah,
and they stay at the Bertram, and then they go to the Hall of Fame Stadium. But there's a lot of information, and there's a lot of people that come in there and throw a bunch of stories at you and whatnot, but I don't think most of these guys are paying attention just because, they get drafted and then a week later you're going to this place and you're like still in shell shock that you just got drafted because it's only for the draftees. You just got drafted and like you're super excited. So you're like, and you haven't had a paycheck yet, right? You don't get a paycheck till you're a couple weeks into playing. So they just think they're all millionaires.
Sure.
And they don't really listen or grasp any of these stories.
Yeah.
But, I think they can do a better job with getting people more involved and having maybe not doing it a week or two after they get drafted, maybe further down the road. And the Jets, I can speak on the Jets' behalf, but during we had a player personnel guy who Dave Zott, he actually played in the NFL for 14 years, and he harped on it to all the young guys, and he would have meetings every other month during the season to get guys involved and have different financial people come out and tell them like the status of like if you invest your money, what it will do for you and all that. And it was optional, right? But like the majority of the rookies and the young guys would go to it. I knew I always went to it because, you never know too much and you always want to get more information.
Yeah, so it's like something that's continuing education, and I can imagine, being 21, 22 years old or whatever age you get drafted and, having everything going through your head, like you said, is a whirlwind, and then sitting there listening to some guy preach about how you got to save money, spend. Yeah, that's not going to be me. I don't care. Don't pay attention. So, yeah, I've always wondered that to say, how can you, where's the outreach? Where's the giant megaphone to say, here's how you got to do it, and then just ingrain it in these individuals to continue to save because it's going to pay off later, and
absolutely,
and you're not going to have a potentially a 10-year career like you did, or
Right.
like Tom Brady career. You're not
Correct.
going to last that long. The average career, maybe a couple years.
It's a year and a half, which
crazy.
is wild. Yeah. And another thing too is, the benefit plans in the NFL are just so substantial. Like the 401k. I always tell all these rookies every time they come in, I sit them down in the locker room and I say, listen, take full advantage of this, max it out.
Yeah.
$23,000 isn't going to change you.
Right.
Your rookie year or whatever. Put it away, because the NFL's plan is top notch. Every dollar you put in, they put $2 in.
That's amazing.
And you can't beat that. It's free money. And a lot of these guys don't take full advantage of it, which is just mind-boggling to me. Because like I said, what's $23,000 going to do to you, over your career?
Nothing, really. I mean, especially if you think about that and spread that across all those paychecks, and especially now when they extended it 34 weeks, that's $1,000, less than $1,000 a pay going into that. And 2 for 1, so like round numbers, if it's 25 grand is the max you can put in, it's a little less than that. But if it's 25, they're putting in 50. So you're putting $75,000 a year each year
like
that you're in.
Yep.
I mean, that's absolutely a no-brainer.
No doubt.
And they do that for everyone that's employed.
Everybody. If you make the roster and you're on the team first year, you got it. Yep.
Practice squad guys too, and all
Practice
that.
squad guys too.
That's awesome. So, so I think that's something that did people listen to you though, or?
Yeah, a lot of guys did. A lot of guys, because they didn't realize. Obviously, I dumb it down. I pretty much say exactly like you said. You put 25 grand in, they're putting 50 grand in. What does that equal? Yeah. That's a big amount of money, right? Like, they're putting double in of what you're putting in, and then when you're old enough or whatever, that plan is going to be worth millions of dollars.
Yep, absolutely. That's awesome. Yep. And did you find that most people listen to you, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, I've been in a bunch of different locker rooms. I've seen a bunch of different people do different things, right? So I can tell them kind of self-experience. Like, a lot of these guys can go up there and, talk on stage or whatever. But if, life stories and stuff, I feel like that hits people most.
Absolutely. Awesome. So anything else that you want to add about being the saving mentality? Was it any influence on your mom and dad? I know your dad, you told me he worked in the steel mills, right? Was that teaching you the value of the dollar? Did a lot go into that?
Yeah, I think so. I was working, I had my first job when I was 13, right?
Wow.
So I worked at this place called Suncrest Gardens under the table. They paid me. And I literally...
The IRS might be listening. Hang on.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it was child slavery. I literally was working 25 hours and getting paid $20, But so I got my moped license. This is a funny story. I got my moped license, and I literally rode a moped when I was 13 to work, and I was a big kid. They used to call me the circus bear when I'd come in there on my moped. So I'd literally get in there and I'd work from 8 till 8 at night and make freaking $30 a day. So yeah, I realized, the value of the dollar, and I think that really helped me. I've been working since I was young. So, and a lot of these guys that come to the NFL are pretty blue collar guys too.
Sure.
And, they understand it too, but there are some that, when they go from nothing or haven't seen money and then get a bunch of money, it's hard for them to understand the big picture.
Yeah, it's almost like I've always looked at the college system and pre the NIL, the naming,
right? I know
that stuff.
I wish I had that.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Get a fishing boat.
Yeah, right.
Sponsor. Yeah, here we go. But I've always thought, like, is there a way to protect the athlete in the sense of giving them like a deferred compensation plan to say, okay, you know what, if you're making your $1 million signing bonus, you know what, here, we're going to give you a third up front, and then the other 2/3, we're going to defer that out for the next 2-3 years. Is there something in there that they can do to give them a chance after football?
That would be, honestly, that'd be a great idea and very smart.
Yeah.
But I think most of these players are just like, I want my money and I want it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's hard to blame them.
Right.
It really is. Because, again, like you said, if they come from nothing and now they're getting something and it's a chance to make their life better, not only their life, their family's lives, absolutely you'd want that for them, and that's only the right thing to do.
Right.
But, yeah, my mind's always spinning. I'm thinking, how can you do it a little bit differently? And who knows? Maybe something will come down the line. But
you would hope.
Yeah,
maybe some type of change, because I do believe, like you said, the rate of people who leave the NFL and don't have much money saved up is high, and it's still high, even with all this knowledge and all these people out there. And all these different ways to make money. It's like, it's kind of mind-boggling to me, right?
Absolutely.
Because if you just follow a plan and you're strict to it, you can still live a good life, right? You're still making good money. You're still having fun. You're doing everything everyone else is doing, but you're not out there buying 3 cars and, 3 homes all over the place. You can save, and then after you're done, you can still live the same life.
Right.
You can still live the same life. And that's the way I look at it, is like, I was so afraid after being done is to work a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was my biggest thing. So I want to do everything possible to line myself up for success, so I didn't have to do that.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to look at it, honestly, is the fear of going back to that grind.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you work so hard to get to this place. Why do you want to go back there?
Yeah.
You can either, they have that, saying you can live like a king or you can live well. You know what I mean? Live well.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a little break here. I'm going to switch it up, and I'm a huge golf fan, as you know, and I love a golf show. David Faraday runs his own golf show. He always does this thing during his interviews where he just throws out random questions. So I'm going to fire off a few at you, and then we'll get back into it. So, favorite college stadium that you played in?
I'm going to say Alabama.
Ooh,
yeah, it's a good story actually. Saban is from Kent State.
Yeah.
So we went out there and played them, and we were the only team to get a standing ovation.
Really?
Because Saban went there,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they still beat us 45-7, but it was a cool stadium.
How do you get up for that game? I mean, do you guys go in knowing like, oh God,
You know what though? For me, it was good because coming from the MAC.
Yeah.
That was kind of my exposure game. Mm-hmm. So I, go out there and play your best ball against these high draft picks. I think that helped me.
Absolutely. How about favorite NFL stadium?
Favorite NFL stadium? That's a good question. When we would play the Patriots when I was with the Jets, the atmosphere was always good because it's a big rivalry.
Sure.
Even though for a long time it was one-sided.
Yeah.
But I would have to go,
Patriots?
Yeah.
The fans pretty brutal up there?
They're pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And you know what? Buffalo is pretty bad too.
Yeah.
In that stadium, everyone's right on top of you. Your seats where you sit is like right next to people yelling at you.
Yeah.
They look up all your information, start yelling crap.
That's great.
It gets in your head. It's good.
Let's see, fishing or hunting?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You got to get me there.
Yeah,
I'm going to say fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say fishing.
Freshwater, ocean water?
I'm a big bass fisher, and you know that.
I do. Yeah. That's awesome. Future dream job if you weren't in the NFL?
Dream job, that's a good one. I'm really getting into the real estate thing, right?
Okay.
Like I'm really kind of leaning. I like that venture. I feel like it's something that you can grow into.
Sure.
And even if you didn't have anything, you can start from nothing and build up, which I think is cool. You can be your own empire.
Yep. So something in real estate.
Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Let's transition into part 2 here. Perfect. We got some more time. So when it comes to investing, do you take much? Do you pay much attention to it? Not to say just do whatever. Like, do you like to get into the weeds in terms of the investing? You kind of trust your guy, or what's the situation?
Yeah,
with you?
I got a good group, and I got good trust in them. The First Merchant Private Wealth, that's who manages my money, and I've been with them for 6-7 years now, so I have a good relationship with them. And I trust everything they do, and they know the type of person I am. They know that I'm conservative,
sure,
right? So I'm not like, hey, go put it at this high risk thing and see what happens. They know everything I do is pretty even keeled, so I don't really get into the details of it. We have meetings every month and go over the things, and they show me the fine detail of what it's invested in and what they've seen. But yeah, I don't dive in too deep.
Do you panic at all when January we had a couple of bad weeks? Like our office was a little bit busy, but did it cause any concern at all?
Yeah, I always, when I was reading, you always read those articles. They say look every 6 months or whatever. You can't look at it every month; it'll drive you nuts. Right?
Absolutely.
Especially, it doesn't matter if you're controlling your own things on, these apps, and it's going up and down every day, fluctuating. You got to look at the monthly and every other month report.
Sure.
So I didn't really freak out about it because you know how the market is; it's so up and down.
Oh, it is.
but it always ends up, right?
Absolutely. It continues to grow. And that's the one thing I appreciate about you is because it's hard for someone to hand over control of their money, right? We go through it with clients all the time saying, I've worked my whole life for this. Same thing with you. I've worked my whole life, all the time that went into getting to where you are.
Right.
And now I'm just going to hand it over to someone to manage. That's a lot to hand over, right?
It's scary.
It is. But the trust is being built. I think you said that's the key word there, is that you trust them with that. And I think that's the important part with anyone when it comes to investing is if they hand it over to someone or a firm, that the trust is built on the front end.
100%. Yeah. And you build that trust over time, right?
Sure.
Because right away, like you said, it's like you're handing them all your money. You don't know how it's going to go. They could run off to Mexico. You don't know. Right. But, building a relationship is the biggest thing. And, obviously you go through an interview process of trying to find someone, and you got to see who you best click with and their whole crew. And, I felt comfortable with these guys. And I think building relationships prior to anything is the biggest thing.
For sure. And that's another thing that's like irritating. How many times have you been approached for like something that's just off the wall? Like, hey man, I got this startup company I want you to invest in. Like,
too many times. Yeah, way too many times. And it's like, I'll bring all these things to my side.
You just shred them.
Yeah, they're nice about it though, right? They're like, they're real. He's like, let me dive in a little bit. I'll do some research, and then I'm like, hey, let me invest in this company right here. I'll say two things, and then he has like a 6-page report. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, well maybe this isn't worth it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he does his due diligence, but me, I'm just like, if I see a percentage that's super high, I'm like, let me try it. But
and I think that's what that trips people up though, right? Is it's sexy? Okay, I can get 50%, 100%, double my money real quick. Sure, why not?
Is that realistic though?
No, and that's right. We always go by the adage: if it sounds too good to be true, it typically is. Yeah, and I think if everyone just kind of looked at that, I think they would eliminate all the crooks in the industry, or put them on an island somewhere, basically.
Yeah.
But
like Bitcoin. And
absolutely.
All that stuff.
Oh God, that's a whole nother conversation. How about and also you brought up an interesting point about like the investment side of things and the preaching to the younger athletes, and I think it's cool too nowadays where you can get everything with your cell phone. Like the ease of investing is at your fingertips, where years ago, even probably when you first entered the league, how that's transformed. So like why it just hasn't caught on there, or is it just something that's just not sticking yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like you're talking like those Robinhood apps and things like that, right? Yeah.
Do you have a lot of guys that do that, or you think they would?
Yeah, there's some guys that will do that, you know what I mean? But like they play with like the small amounts just to kind of like feel the waters. And even like guys that are in the NFL, like my two best friends from home, they mess around with that too, right? So and I think it's a good way to learn, right? You're playing with a low amount, so you get to feel the market and see how it fluctuates.
Yep.
So I think that's cool. And then, whenever you feel comfortable, you can give your money to, a firm who will work with it. So
absolutely.
I think more people need to take advantage of that so they can see how it works and be like, oh, crap, I can make $100 in a day, putting it here, it's small amounts. But, if you look at that and then, it shows you like investment's a real thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you add a couple more zeros, you can see what that really does long term. So when it comes to investing, you got a favorite stock out there? Anything that you really like, or
like I said, I'm real conservative. Smuckers is my go-to. Yeah. We do a lot with Smuckers, and I feel comfortable. Not only do I like Smuckers, but it's a good investment.
And it's local too.
It's local.
You can't go wrong.
Exactly.
So, any other advice out there that you'd give, Brian, when it comes to anyone investing in general, anyone, outside the NFL, just anyone that's starting their careers, any advice out there that you'd want to pass on to anyone?
Yeah, just trust the process.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. It's one of those things that it takes time, it builds. The more you put in, the more you'll see, right?